Hi guys, so Nicola Sturgeon, First Minister of Scotland, apologised for the handling of the Scottish exam results. So this is an issue that has been going from one part of the country to the other. It's been splashed all over the media, and Scotland has been taking a lot of heat because of this. So let's hear what she has to say. She's given an apology here, and I'm going to come back in a moment to tell you what I think of her apology.
Let me be clear that we will not expect every student who has been downgraded to appeal. Let me be clear about this. In a very difficult and unprecedented situation, we took decisions that we thought on balance were the right ones, and we took them with the very best of intentions. These were broadly the same decisions that have been reached for England and Wales as well. But our concern, which was to make sure that the grades young people got were as valid as those they would have got in any other year, perhaps led us to think too much about the overall system and not enough about the individual pupil. And that has meant that too many students feel that they've lost out on grades that they should have had, and also that that has happened as a result, not of anything they've done, but because of a statistical model or an algorithm. And in addition, that burden has not fallen equally across our society. So despite our best intentions, I do acknowledge that we did not get this right, and I'm sorry for that.
Okay, so here we have the First Minister of Scotland apologising for a mistake that took place within the education system. Now, I don't know whether she's fully responsible for this, but the fact that she's taking responsibility for it is admirable. Now, let me put my cards down on the table. I'm not going to try to confuse anyone here. I admire Nicola Sturgeon as a politician, as a person. I think she's a good person. She has empathy for Scottish people, for the people of Scotland, both for people who agree with her and disagree with her. I think she's a good leader. I think she's done a great job over the last number of months dealing with this pandemic. And this has gone up, in my opinion of her has gone up because of this apology as well. She's willing to apologise. Now let's just contrast this with Boris Johnson. And let me just, before I do that, remind you that I have said in the past that any politician who's willing to apologise for a mistake deserves respect for that. And I've said in the past as well that if Boris Johnson was willing to apologise for what he has done, how he hasn't cared about the British people, how he hasn't done, dealt with this pandemic in the correct way, if he had apologised, then I would accept that, even though I disagree with Boris Johnson on almost everything. I would accept that and I would commend him for that. But let's look at this in its context. So Nicola Sturgeon is apologising for mistakes in exam results. Now, of course, these exam results have a huge impact on the people who were affected. Boris Johnson has not apologised for the tens of thousands of people who have lost their lives because of this pandemic. Scientists and experts have said that if the lockdown had been imposed 1 week early, the number of people who lost their lives to the pandemic would have probably been halved. Since the beginning, Boris Johnson has not taken this pandemic seriously, and he hasn't apologised for this. He joked about shaking hands with people, and it turned out to be a lie, and he hasn't apologised for that either. He hasn't apologised for ignoring the pandemic as it was spreading across Europe. He hasn't apologised about not being part of a European Union project to buy PPE, even though there was that possibility. He ignored that. He decided not to be part of that, and in turn putting members of the NHS in danger, and he hasn't apologised for that. He hasn't apologised on behalf of his government or his party for not funding the NHS correctly over the last number of years, even when he was Prime Minister, or even before that when he was a member of the party. He hasn't apologised for any of this. And his supporters continue to support him. The country continues to support him. They view him as competent, as acceptable as a leader, as a prime minister. Now, I know that people who disagree with Nicola Sturgeon will use this against her, will say, oh, look at her apologizes, see, she must have done something wrong, instead of actually looking at the fact that something went wrong, she apologized, and she's trying to fix it. Let's just take politics out of this. All of us have made mistakes in our lives. We've made mistakes with our loved ones, we've made mistakes in our job, in our relationships with friends or family. Doesn't it take a lot of courage to apologize and say, look, I made a mistake and I'm trying to fix it? I don't separate politicians from this. If politicians truly feel that they have made a mistake and are legitimate in their apologies, I think this should be something positive in respect to politics. And unfortunately, it's not. It's considered a weakness. For me, it's a strength. Someone who can say, I made a mistake. I want to fix the problem. Why would we want people instead who say, there is no mistake and I'm not going to fix it, when we all know there is a problem? That's all I really wanted to say about this. I know, and most of you know who follow this channel, that I agree with Nicola Sturgeon. I support her party. I think they're trying to do the best for Scotland. But let's take that out of the discussion for a moment. Here is a politician who has made a mistake, or seems to have made a mistake, is apologizing for it, is taking responsibility for it, is attempting to try and fix the problem. And of course, the people who disagree with her will attack her for that. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. Why not become a Patreon and enjoy access to our Discord server where we share news, chat, and have some fun? If you become a patron, you can also make video suggestions on topics that are important to you. Check it out via the link in the description.